We are back once again. We are back to discuss Week 11. Al, how you doing?
Excellent, man. Excellent. Good to be back with you. And yeah, we are in the meat of the season. It is all awesome right now. Another great week. Can't wait to talk about it.
Just an unbelievable week, as we say every week.
Yeah, really. It really is. This league delivers, baby. This league delivers.
That's why so many people love it. All right.
No doubt.
Well, if you're ready to just jump right in,
Sure.
okay. Well, I'm going to hand it over to you. Your guys, Philadelphia, take care of business against Washington, 26-18.
Yeah, this was everything I was hoping for. I mean, geez, this they they held one of the best offensive teams in football to their. They went from I think they were number 3 in total yardage defensively last week, and they played one of the best offenses in football and moved up to number 1 in total yardage now. That's how good of the game this was for the Eagles. The game wasn't as close as the score, and they destroyed them, and it was awesome. I can't believe it. I will say this: Jaden Daniels is clearly affected by this rib. I think 4 weeks in a row now, his stats have been pretty mediocre compared to what he was doing before.
Yep.
And it's funny because I give yeah, I'm gonna forget his name again, Craig, the offensive coordinator,
Kingsbury?
Cliff Kingsbury. I always want
Cliff.
him to be Kirk. I can't get that out of my head. Cliff Kingsbury. There's people other than me questioning Kingsbury right now too, which I find interesting because I've always ridden him pretty hard, but I'm not alone on it because apparently he has a track record of starting fast and finishing slow with his offenses. So that's something to keep an eye on too. But I'm not going to rip on him too much until Jaden Daniels looks healthy again. But I mean, geez, Barkley. I mean, this game had everything you want as an Eagle fan. I mean, I don't even know where to go specifically because they were so good. Hurts played great. Barkley, 2 of 26 rushes for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 52 yards. Here's a fun stat for you. Barkley is the first running back to have 440 plus yard rushing games. That's not total yards, that's rushing. In the first 10 games of a season since '05. Do you want to take a guess at the running back before I tell you?
In 05?
Mm-hmm. I don't think I would have got this out off the top of my head, but it's fun to try.
Danian Tomlinson.
Great guess for the era. This was the guy who was the few years Tomlinson wasn't the best running back in football. This guy had a couple of them, and
Marshall
that it's
Falk.
close again. He was in that mix too. Yeah, absolutely. But do you remember the 3 or 4 absolutely dominant years that Sean Alexander had?
Oh, yeah.
And he, by the way, is the second to last running back to win an MVP. So the last time a running back put up stats like this, he won an MVP. Now, it's a little different. It feels like the last 10 years, nobody's even considered giving anybody but a quarterback the MVP. So,
Exactly.
but how about that for a stat? Pretty
That's
nice.
crazy.
Pretty
It's
nice.
definitely crazy, but not surprising.
No, no. And then one other thing I want to point out, and then I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this one. Um, Actually, 2 other things. One, the coordinator factor this year. The Eagles made great hires, and they are killing it, and it has turned this team around completely. Vic Fangio has turned this into arguably the best defense in football, which I can't believe. Kellen Moore has turned this into a top 5 offense. I mean, it is unbelievable. The only thing that stinks about it is it's very likely Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio won't get swooped up as a head coach. He's too old and he's failed recently. But Kellen Moore is probably going to get swooped up after this season, which is a bummer. The other thing I want to point out is the play of Quinyon Mitchell. Terry McLaurin, who had been lighting the league up
Yeah.
for 2 months,
Yep.
1 catch for 10 yards, and and that wasn't on Quinyon Mitchell. They targeted Quinyon once the entire game. He is getting the Deion Sanders treatment 10 weeks into his professional career, Craig.
Well, he shut down, like you said. He's one of the best, one of the very best, and yeah, you've got to be ecstatic about this kid.
I am, and then you have Cooper DeJean with him. Like the Eagles have had two other really great cornerback eras in my time watching them, and that was in the '90s. They had Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor, who were incredible. Then in the early 2000s, they drafted Lito Shepard and Sheldon Richardson in the same draft in the first and second round, and they that led to some pretty successful years because when you have two good cornerbacks, as you know, because you don't have one of yours this year and you have two when they're healthy, it is just a team changer. So this is setting them up for the next 5 years. You know,
Yep, yep. I what I would say is, well, yeah, obviously, great win for the Eagles. Uh, just solidifying their spot now as probably the second or third best team in the entire league. And the only reason why they're not first is because in their own conference is because Detroit's in their conference, and I think they're the best team in the NFL.
I'd have to pick them over the Eagles right now on a neutral field.
But other than that, there's nobody better than the Eagles. There's nobody that can pick over the Eagles right now.
Yeah,
They're flying high.
yeah,
um, the only thing I will say is I'm not sure. You said 26-18. I think that score is about right in terms of you saying that it wasn't that close. Only because it was 13-6 in the fourth going into the fourth quarter that they were losing.
yeah. But it was 26.
I'm sorry, 10-6, 10-6 going into the fourth quarter losing.
Yes, but it was 26-10 with 2 minutes left.
Oh, I understand that, but for three quarters, this was a good game.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But I think my statement stands. It wasn't as close as the final score because at one point, with 2 minutes left, they were
Yeah,
up
but I
16
don't.
points.
No, I definitely disagree with that, and that's okay. That's okay. I think 26-18 is the right score, meaning it was as close as it looks. But
Yeah,
it's
it
I
didn't
mean,
feel that way to me.
it's not a 1 point win. It's as close as it looks for an 8 point win. An 8 point win looks like that game to me.
Right on. Yeah, I disagree, but that's okay.
But the fourth quarter it was absolute domination,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
So yeah, you got to be feeling great about them.
yeah, man. I mean, yeah, there's nothing to bitch about right now. Nothing.
No, absolutely not. Nothing.
Even we went a whole week without Nick Sirianni doing anything stupid. I'm
I,
stunned.
I know that's stunning to you.
It is. Oh man, unbelievable, man, unbelievable. One other neat stat: the Eagles who held them to 18 points. The Commanders were averaging 29 points a game coming into that game.
Yeah. I was reading up on the injury reports a little bit, and they said now there's getting to be major concern about Jaden Daniels' rib injury.
Well, there should be. I mean, they let him play through this thing, and he has not looked the same since it happened. You know,
Nope.
he was very ginger when
Yeah.
he would run the ball. You could tell he did not want to get hit, and who does? But I mean, that's very different than he looked 6 weeks ago.
Right.
There was that one fourth down call where I don't even know what the hell the play was supposed to be, but it looked like maybe a designed run or maybe a pass run option for Jaden Daniels, but he bobbled the ball and it blew up in their faces. The Eagles stopped them on 4th and 3. It was a bad choice to go for it on 4th and 3, honestly. But um, but he went down, before the guy even got to him because he was hurting, I think. So yeah, there's something legitimate going on there. It seems in retrospect it probably would have been good to give him a week or two off, but too late for that now.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move on because the poor Chicago Bears, those poor bastards,
Oh my word.
have have a last second touchdown bomb to lose a game, and then they follow it up. I mean, my God, kicking the game winning field goal against the heated rival, and it gets blocked. And this is the second week in a row in this league that a team was going to win a game, in the last second, the field goal gets blocked. Last week,
Incredible.
Kansas City blocked Denver. This week, Green Bay blocks the field goal with no time left, 20-19, they win the game.
Incredible, Craig.
It
Incredible.
wasn't even a
And
long field goal. It was like a 40-yard field goal.
yeah, and the kicker to that one was the guy barely got a 1/10 of his finger on the thing, and it bounced off the bottom of the crossbar. It still almost went in.
Yeah.
If it had been 2 feet higher, it would have gone in. Maybe 1 foot higher. Oh,
Unbelievable.
incredible, bro. Incredible.
But Green Bay keeps winning. We both picked Green Bay. Um,
Yeah, we got lucky
yeah,
on that
it
one for
was.
sure.
Yeah, we got lucky on that one. Um, I'm thinking now these quote unquote like rivalry games, especially in the division. If the team is respectable against a really good team like the Bears, they're not great. They're 4-6. They're not, they're kind of falling off a little bit for sure. And Green Bay 7-3. We got to remember, especially at home for those guys, they're going to still play them tough because these are rivalries. These are in the division rivalries that know
Yeah.
each other really, really well.
No, that's a real thing. I'm with you 100%, and I forget that too. But yeah, it's good to keep that in your the old noggin when you're picking games for sure, or picking scores for sure too.
Right.
But yeah, that's a real thing, man. No doubt about it. That division thing is for real. Just ask. I'll wait until we get there.
Yes.
um,
Christian
and
Watson,
here,
150 yards.
man, that dude. Is there a more boomer bust guy? Him and he's a better hands version of Marquez Valdez Scantling so far in his career.
Yes, I would say a better version. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because he has one big game every 5 or 6 weeks,
Yep.
and then he goes dormant. Either that or he pulls a hamstring.
And Caleb Williams looks a
So
little better.
well, that's you just hit on what I wanted to talk about. Go ahead and lay out the stats, and then we'll talk about that some.
Yeah, 23 for 31, 231 yards. No touchdowns, but also no picks. So,
Hey, Craig, real quick. I'm sorry, bud. You're breaking up a little bit.
oh, okay.
I was giving it a little bit, but it kept going.
All right, let me I'm gonna move
Oh, you're
over
clear.
here.
You're clear again.
Okay, I'm gonna move over here. What I was
Cool.
saying is Caleb Williams, 23 for 31, 231 yards, no touchdowns, but also no picks and 70 yards rushing.
Yeah, how about that?
So, pretty good on him. Just I think his best game in a few weeks.
It's his best game since he had those 2 good games for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and that offensive coordinator change instantly made this a better offense. Instantly.
It's the offensive coordinator bump.
Yeah, apparently that's real too, or at least in this case it was. I mean, they were so bad ever since that bye week, Craig, that it was unfathomable because they had come off the 2 good weeks. Caleb Williams had 2 good games that blow away this game, by the way, passing statistics wise, even though this was a solid one. And and then they just regressed, and now they showed, like, apparently they simplified some things, they did this, they did that, who knows, you hear all the same crap every time somebody gets fired, but it worked in this case. And another thing I want to point out is the pass distribution. Everybody's been wondering, they have these three, there's Keenan Allen was out to start the season, but they've had these all three guys for I think at least half the games now, maybe more. And this is the first time where it looked anything like what you thought it might be coming into the season. Odunze, 6 catches, 65 yards. DJ Moore, 7 catches, 62 yards. Keenan Allen, 4 catches, 41 yards. Everybody's happy. Everybody eats. DeAndre Swift ran 14 times for 71 yards and a touchdown. This is the first time this offense really looked like it made sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Totally agree. On the other side, Jordan Love only threw the ball 17 times, but he was 13 for 17, but still got 261 yards, one touchdown, also one pick. I think a lot of that was Christian Watson on that 60-yard catch that he had.
Yes.
Josh Jacobs got 18 carries. They ran the ball 25 times in total. Um, yeah, just kind of like a offensively for Green Bay. I would say it's kind of similar, except for the Watson factor. But Love did what you would expect him to do. Josh Jacobs had a solid day, nothing spectacular, and then you had just one guy get that one long bomb. But other than that, right about where everybody would be as well.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that the if you're a fantasy guy out there, the Packers wide receiver core will drive you insane. It's great in real life. It is. It's awesome because they have 4 decent weapons. But try and figure out which one's going to go off each week if you own one of them. Jaden Reed in my case.
22 catches, 23 yards.
At least he got in the end zone to salvage what would have been an awful day.
Right, right,
But
right.
it is tricky to it's a lesson learned, man. I will if it's the same receiving core going into next year, I won't be touching any of them because it's too hard to figure out.
Okay, I just want to check on those injuries. Anything come out of this game?
Um, let me see here too. I'm not sure.
DJ Moore left the game and came back, and
Yeah, DJ Moore had like DJ Moore was looking like a lost man with the other offensive coordinator. So this is huge for DJ Moore. DJ Moore has put up 1,000-yard receivers with some of the worst quarterbacks that have ever played in the NFL. So for him to go dark this season was really weird. So it's nice to see him back.
I think this is their top cornerback, Jair Alexander.
Yes.
He started and then quickly went to the bench because he's got a knee problem. He never came back.
Oh, that's big, dude. No,
That could be big.
that. Yeah, that's big. If I'll have to keep our eyes on that for Sunday for next week. I mean, but wow, that yeah. If they lose him, that's equivalent to the Eagles losing Quinion Mitchell or something. You know what I mean? Like that's big.
Yep. All right, we both so far have got everything right. We both picked Philadelphia and Green Bay. We both picked this next one too. My God, how much more impressive can Detroit be?
Oh, this was crazy, man. This is what you want to see from a great team against a really bad team. This is what you want to see every
But the
time.
numbers they're putting up,
Oh, oh,
just
oh.
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, run some numbers, man. How about just man, let me mention this real quick. How about Goff bouncing back from his 5 interception game with the stats you're about to read?
Yeah, hang on. I'm just checking real quick. Wasn't it just a couple weeks ago they scored 50 as well?
Ooh, let me double check that. I'm not
24.
100%.
I'm checking right now.
I'll have it in a sec too here if you don't.
Yeah, week 8 they beat Tennessee 52-14.
Oh, that's right. And that both of those teams, by the way. Now the Jaguars are in a tailspin, so forget that. But because but what I'm going to say did apply a few weeks ago, and it certainly does to Tennessee all season. Good defenses,
Yeah, pretty
especially
good
Tennessee.
defense.
Yeah.
Yep. But
Yeah. Jacksonville's in a tailspin.
Jared Goff,
Wow.
24 for 29, 412 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow. Every bit as good as his last game was bad, and good for him for bouncing back. He knew he would.
Yeah, he's a solid quarterback. No interceptions. Um, 75 yards rushing for Montgomery, 69 yards rushing for Gibbs. They both got in the end zone. Montgomery got in twice.
Gibbs
And
had a
Amon Ross St. Brown,
catch too. Sorry.
11 catches, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamison Williams, 4 for 124 and a touchdown. Just like you said in the last one, everybody got a chance to eat.
No doubt, this was a thing of beauty for this team. Yeah, they are incredible. The Jags are every bit as bad as they are good. Yeah, I'm stunned, frankly, that Doug Peterson hasn't been fired before we recorded this podcast, based off this game.
I agree. One last thing. Um, the tight end there. What is he? How long is he out?
Oh, Laporta is he was out. He was like a game time decision, or maybe he was questionable until very close to Sunday. I can't remember if they ruled him out Saturday or Sunday, but it's if I remember right, it's a knee, and he is week to week.
Okay, yeah. Then he's not even listed on the injuries out of the game. I guess because he didn't play.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. It was dicey to me listening to the reports last week whether he'd be back next week or not. I'm not sure. Very muddy. Oh, but here's the one big thing, and this is a bad piece of news for the Lions. They now have their second massive injury on the defense for the year. They already lost Aiden Hutchinson weeks ago, and they've been surviving just fine. But they lost Alex Anzalone, their linebacker, who's one of the better linebackers in football. He's
Yep.
out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken forearm. So that's
Yeah,
going to be that's a big deal for them. Let's keep an eye on that moving forward.
yep. But other than that, they are humming.
Oh, I mean, this if if the playoffs started today, they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
I would say, yeah. I would say as well.
I'm with you.
Um,
Yep.
Even over Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move on. Miami, 34-19. The Raiders stink.
Well
We got
put.
we got this one right as well. We picked a lot closer game. Well, you had 30-13. I picked a close game. I don't know what I was thinking, but Miami gets the win, and they're starting. You said it last week as well. Maybe they're starting to round into form a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. This was Tua's return to form post concussion.
Yes, yes. He looked like himself.
He really did. Really did. I mean, 28 for 36, 288, and 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's a thing of beauty right there. Um, and by the way, what the hell is going on with this Jonnu Smith?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, this guy, people have been wanting this guy to bust out for 6 years, it feels like. I don't know how long he's been in the league, but he's been a super talented, might bust out guy for a long time.
Yeah, he got 6 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. Probably hit the best game of his career.
I would assume it almost has to be, right? I mean, we have to
Yeah.
look it up to confirm, but I would bet. I'm with you. Um, but is this like, is he for real now? I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that's going to be his weekly output. But is he a top 10 fantasy tight end for the rest of the season, or is he just a guy who pops up once in a while? I don't know. But either way, this is great for the Dolphins. I mean, Tyreek Hill had he's not. By the way, he has this wrist issue that's a big deal apparently. Like he needs surgery, and they're putting it off until the offseason.
Yep. Yep.
So
He's just playing through it.
yeah, credit to him for being tough because that's got to be hard. And I mean, Amari Cooper just who knows it's different stuff, but Amari Cooper just was questionable for 8 weeks. It felt like with a wrist injury, and Tyreek Hill's playing through it the whole time. 7 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Um, the only thing is Jalen Waddle continues to be on the missing report. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The ghost of Jalen Waddle.
yeah, this guy's caught about 1,000-yard seasons every year in the NFL, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But good news for the Dolphins. They separate themselves from the below the muck Raiders. And yeah,
They're
they're going to be a pain in the butt for people for the rest of the season as long as Tua stays healthy.
yeah. Yep. Yep. On the other side, you gotta still love Brock Bowers.
Oh, my goodness. I almost forgot about that. Yes, hit him with that.
Third, 13 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. He's the only reason why anybody would watch a Raiders game.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. That's so awesome. Yeah, they have this guy, I mean, geez, this guy is going to break. I can't imagine. The only tight end rookie record that I can't imagine he might not break is his touchdowns. I mean, because that's only his third one of the season, I think, third or fourth. But I don't know what the rookie tight end receiving. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up now that I brought it up like an idiot. I should have had it ready. But uh, but he's gonna break it. I can't imagine he's not right.
I would say
I can't. I'm
he
trying to
looks
think of who the. I don't
so
even know who the
good.
record is.
The rookie record?
Yeah, most receiving yards by a tight end in. Oh, it's Mike Ditka. I always forget
Oh
that.
wow!
I always forget that because that came up. You know who number two is? You want to guess at number two before I give it away? I would have forgot this too.
I don't
He's
know.
in the league. He's in the league.
Is it Kyle Pitts?
Yes.
Jeez,
Because he had that tantalizing rookie season, which is why we all still think about drafting him at the end of our drafts.
that he's never ever lived up to or repeated in any way, shape, or form.
Not even close. Not even close. So yeah, you're the only two tight ends that have ever gone over 1,000 yards in NFL history in their rookie season are Ditka and Pitts. And by the way, Ditka did that in a 14-game season. That's how good Mike Ditka was.
Wow,
He averaged 19.2 yards a catch. What?
jeez, how's that possible?
I don't know, man. I got to go back and look at some Mike Ditka footage because he became such a big personality as a coach. It overshadowed his playing career, but he was obviously great.
Yeah, but 19 yards a catch for a tight end doesn't make any sense.
I can't even fathom. I can't even imagine that. I mean, the game was different back then, so I don't know, but I mean, that's like you hear like one of my favorite old players that I never got to watch but read about was the receiver Lance Allworth.
Oh yeah, I
And
didn't either, but I've heard of him.
yeah, and he was supposed to be one of the fat. He was like a Tyreek Hill of back then, kind of basically. And he always had these massive yards per catch numbers, but that's what you expect from the Tyreek Hills of the world. You know what I mean? Not from a tight end. So I don't know, man. That's wild. He did that. He put up 1,076 yards on 56 catches.
Wow.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
All right.
Oh, cool.
Let's move on because I want to talk about this team because next week is going to be very difficult because you don't know what you're going to get. It's the Rams 28, Patriots 22. We got this one right as well. The Rams are so hard to figure out week to week. You don't know what you're going to get. One week they look like this, and one week they look like complete trash.
Yeah, yeah. And we've been saying this all year almost about this team, and just when you think you have them figured out, you don't. The receivers come back, you think they're back on track. They're not exactly. You know what I mean? This was a good win, but it wasn't super impressive against a really bad team. So I don't know what to take out of this game.
Well, 295 yards and 4 touchdowns for Stafford's pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm just saying. I mean, they beat one of the worst teams in football by 6 points. That's not
Yeah,
great. You know,
no.
their offensive numbers are freaking outrageous. I mean, it's exactly what you want from Puka and Cup. I mean, Puka 7 catches, 123 yards and a touch. Cup 6 catches, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's unbelievable. Oh, and I wanted to point out real quick before I forget, their rookie defensive tackle Braden Fisk had 2 sacks, and that's
Yes.
Fisk and Verse in the first and second round for the Rams is going to be huge for them. It looks like for years, much in the way the Eagles got Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yep. I think so. They got 2 keepers there. Kyron Williams also 86 yards on 15 carries.
Can I say something
Traditional.
real quick about him?
Yep.
What do you? Let me ask you this: what were your thoughts on him coming into this year from a football player and fantasy perspective?
Um, Not an elite running back, but right there in the next tier with a lot of guys. I would put
Yes.
him in the like with Walker from Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of a player.
That makes
Uh,
sense.
I'm trying to think who else. I would have to
That's
have a list
Walker's
in
a
front of
perfect
me.
one. Yeah, Walker's a
But
perfect. Maybe.
yeah,
Would,
not real. He's not on the Barkley or the McCaffrey kind of level or anything like that. But he's the
yeah.
next level, and there's a few people there.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. And he was probably I got him in 0 leagues because where he was in my thought process, he wasn't available. I just had him because he was injured. I think he missed 3 games in his rookie season last year,
Yeah.
and he's so tiny. I was worried about him holding up. And the reason I brought this up is I'm going to mea culpa this thing and say my bad. My bad. Dude is super solid. Super solid. I like him a lot. I wish I had him in a couple leagues because he's one of the one thing he is like Barkley and Henry and McCaffrey in is has a stranglehold on that backfield, which is a super valuable commodity in fantasy anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had 15 carries. The next guy got 5. So I mean, that is his job,
No doubt. No
and
doubt.
he's
Oh,
doing it. He's doing it well. He had
he's
86
doing it.
yards.
Super solid, man. Super solid. He gets every yard. Like I got to watch an entire game of him for the first time this year recently, and I was so impressed. He got every yard that was there, and some extra, which I love. And while I'm mea culping, I forgot to do this. If that's a thing, I forgot to do this when we were talking about the Eagles game. I said weeks ago this was early in the season when you were having a hard time because Jalen Hurts was screwing you in fantasy when Jalen had that tough first 4 games or so.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I said anybody that thought he was going to rush for 15 touchdowns again is crazy. He's going to rush for more.
I think so.
He might hit 20 this year. And I just thought because of Kelsey retiring, the tush push has now failed more this season than it did all last year. But they're still using it, and it's still pretty effective. I think it's failed 3 times or 4 times so far this year. But But boy, was I wrong. I thought that was like a whole confluence of events that would never quite happen the same way again, especially after signing one of the best running backs in football. But I was dead wrong. So I wanted to throw that out there because I was clearly wrong. And if I listen to that podcast again 5 years from now, I want to make sure I brought up that I said it and I was absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, no, you're right. I would suspect he's going to get 20.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's got to be the roughly the over under right now. You know.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm ready to move on to the Saints 35, Cleveland 14. This was an uninteresting game. We had no interest in this whatsoever. We both kind of picked New Orleans and just moved on. Um, I don't know. Jeez. I just don't have a whole lot to add to this game.
Well, I got a couple things for you on this one. This, like we were talking, we disagreed, but we were, we're in the same ballpark on that Eagles game. We're splitting hairs on whether it was
Oh,
felt,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
that's just fun to split hairs like that sometimes. Well, here's another example in a much more massive way. Did you realize this was a 14-14 game with 2 minutes left? I'm sorry, 2 minutes into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yep.
Then it ended up third. They scored. What is that?
They
They
scored
scored
21 points in the fourth quarter.
in the fourth quarter, three touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's crazy. And tell me this. Now I know that the big giant receiving, or I'm sorry, giant quarterback numbers tend to come from the losers. But holy crap, Winston was 30 for 46, 395 yards, two touchdowns, and he didn't turn the ball over, and they lose by 21 points.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you want from him?
Right? He did everything you could ask a quarterback to do.
Yeah, and
Incredible.
Jerry Judy had a great game, but they couldn't really run the ball. Nick Chubb only had 50 yards.
Yep.
A lot to ask though with coming back from that injury, but either way, that he's their guy,
Yep.
and I think that probably was one of the factors, the fact that they couldn't run the ball.
I absolutely, absolutely. And boy, we can't get out of this one without talking about the game Taysom Hill had. And if you had him sitting in your roster at tight end, you won your game this week, almost guaranteed. Holy
Yeah,
crap! First of all, he threw
138 yards rushing,
yeah, 7 rushes,
averaging 19.7 yards a carry,
much like Mike Ditka's receiving yardage.
3 touchdowns. Jeez, and then he caught another 8 catches for 50 yards. So if you're
And
in a
he threw
PPR, he's really going to go off.
Dude, PPR, he had one of the biggest weeks of anybody's ever had. He also, by the way, threw an interception in all there.
Yes, he did.
so take off if your point takes off deducts for interceptions, you got to take off a point or two, but it still leaves you with like 45 points if you're in a PPR.
Insane.
Oh man, I mean this guy, he's this is one of the worst years for tight ends you'll ever see in fantasy football. And I mean, guys that were expected to be great like Laporta have been not even mediocre, just terrible. And you could do a lot worse than stick Taysom Hill in your lineup for the next 8 weeks
Yeah,
or whatever it is,
totally.
6 weeks. I don't know how many weeks we have left.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm just seeing if there's any injuries here for the Browns. Um, Jeff Swain, the backup tight end, and Denzel Ward was injured, but he ended up returning, so all
Oh, okay.
good. Yeah, but yeah, Cleveland. I mean, they're just playing it out now. They're just playing out the string.
100%, 100%. The only thing I have to say about Cleveland moving forward is hopefully for the fun of football and for our fantasy folk, they just let Winston play out the string.
Oh yeah, I think they will. They
Yeah.
have to.
If they put in the three-name guy, everybody on that team becomes irrelevant again.
All right, the three-name guy. By the way, the only game that had any kind of penalties worth mentioning is the Rams in New England had 14.
Okay.
Everybody else was under 13, which is the kind of the threshold. If it's under 13, I don't really say anything.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. Yep.
in fact, Cleveland, New Orleans only had 8
Ooh.
all
Who would
game.
have who would have expected those two teams to have such a clean game?
Yeah. Now we go to the opposite of that with the high of the week in penalties, with 19 penalties in the game. These damn referees just can't keep their flag in their pocket. Um, and Baltimore themselves,
Oh,
part of the reason why they lost this game, of the 19 penalties called, they had 12 against them.
yeah, they did everything they could to lose this game.
How is it possible? I mean, so we're talking about Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Pittsburgh wins 18-16, although we did both pick this. Um, I don't, Baltimore is strength is sometimes they look so good, but then they come up with a game like this again. Though this goes back to what I was saying before about rivalries. These are a rivalry game, and even though we pick Baltimore, we think they're a Super Bowl contender. It's going to be a close game, regardless.
No doubt about it. And let's reinforce that by giving you Lamar Jackson's career stats versus the Steelers. Now, Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in football since he came into the league. Against the Steelers, he has a passer rating of 66.7. He's thrown for 1,077 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8 picks in 7 games against the Steelers in his career. They have his number for whatever reason, and it came up again. You know, I think he ended up with like he had the worst fantasy game of the season by far. He ended up a little over 200 yards. Where do I have those stats?
I have the
Uh,
stats.
oh yeah, okay.
He had
Oh,
207 yards, a touchdown, and a interception, and then he ran for 46 more.
yes, and his completion percentage was under 50% for the first time in a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. He has. They have his number. But all that being said, if arguably the greatest field goal kicker in the history of the league, doesn't miss 2 very makeable field goals, they win this game. If he makes one of the two,
Yep. And let's not forget, Pittsburgh didn't score one touchdown.
right? Oh man, I mean Boswell. Thank goodness for them. They have one of the best field goal kickers in football. That guy is a beast. Um, my league gives bonuses for uh, like 50-yard field goals. He got me 22 points.
Yeah, he had a 57-yarder.
Yep, yep. I mean, just wild, just wild. This was a really great game. It just was one of those NFC or AFC North games. If you like offense, this wasn't for you, but it was really fun to watch. There was a excuse me. There was a massive sequence at the end of the first half that I want to bring up. The Ravens get the ball at their own 9-yard line with 38 seconds left in the half. Okay, now most teams would just run up the clock. It was 7-6 Baltimore at the time, by the way. So they had the lead. They were getting the ball in the second half. Most teams take a knee, maybe run the ball once, get out of there. They throw a screen pass to Isaiah Likely, who gets clocked and fumbles the ball. And the Pittsburgh gets the ball at the 19-yard line with a couple seconds left, kicks a field goal, up 9-7 at the end of the half instead of down 7-6. Ravens getting the ball. So that changed the entire complexion of the game right there.
Yep, that was a crazy sequence. I remember that I was watching. I watched most of this game. Um, did you know that linebacker Roquan Smith has a hamstring injury for Baltimore? I think that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. He's leading the NFL in tackles. So
Yeah,
absolutely it's a big deal.
and he was
And
out. He's out.
and man, this is like this the new injury of the year for me was this AC joint shoulder thing that's popped up a few times. But the injury of the year this year is hamstrings. I mean, people are missing a month. Dak Prescott is missing half a season with a hamstring injury. I mean,
Yep,
these hammies are killing people. Nico Collins just missed 5 games. I mean, it's hammies are the scourge of the league this year.
yep. Uh, yeah, for Dak. Yeah, apparently he tore it off the bone. So
Yeah,
they
which just sounds
that's
awful.
yeah, yeah. That's major surgery. You're not going to recover from that
Yeah, but I mean,
the rest of the year.
I just don't remember people missing. Like, well, I mean, I'd have to. There's probably been a billion hamstring injuries every year, but it just seems like that one's in my face this year for some reason.
Yep. Um. So does this put Pittsburgh over Baltimore in your mind? Because they have a better record now by 2 games.
It has to, and I mean, I still would have told you going into that game that Baltimore was the second best team in the AFC behind Kansas City. I can't do that anymore because they've just lost too many games. That's their fourth loss.
Yeah, 7-4.
Yeah, and I still think they're excellent. I really do. But they obviously have some issues because they don't win every game they should, and not that this was one of them necessarily. I mean, they could have won it with by making a field goal, but this was a tough team at least. But you know they've had losses to the Raiders, so this is it's a weird thing I don't understand. But I have to put the Steelers over them for now because they just beat them, and they have two more wins. I mean, I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah, they deserve it.
I agree. I
They deserve
completely
to be
agree.
thought of in that respect. So they're going to be hard out in the playoffs too.
I mean, and they play smart. You know, they play a very annoying brand of football. You're not going to get a ton of drives against them because they're going to grind and grind and grind. And you know, Arthur Smith is a very good offensive coordinator, not a great head coach. Very good offensive coordinator. So yeah, they are, and their defense is top notch. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch those AFC playoffs because there's going to be some interesting matchups come playoff time.
I agree. Okay, let's move on to Minnesota 23, Tennessee 13. Tennessee is horrible.
Yes.
Um, Minnesota is 8-2, but they still don't seem like they're where they were early in the year. What do you? They just have had a different feel for me the last few weeks. What do you think?
I completely agree. I completely agree. Now I will say this: this was big. This was big in that Sam Darnold stopped the regression this week. He did not turn the ball over for the first time in several weeks. So
Yeah,
I agree.
he two
Go ahead.
touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, yeah, and a very solid game. 20 for 32, 246. Nothing super spectacular. He ran for a touchdown, but he didn't turn the ball over, and that's what this team needs him to do. So, so hopefully that could be for them. Hopefully that
Well,
could.
he did turn the ball over because he fumbled once and lost it.
Oh, he did have a fumble. I didn't catch that. Shoot. Okay. Well, there goes the his turnover streak. Then it continues.
Right.
But
At least he didn't throw any picks.
yeah, and he had multiple interceptions last week. So yeah, it's at least a little better, I guess. But that they need him to stop turning the ball over if they're going to do anything in the playoffs. They feel like a very shaky team for their record to me.
Yeah, I tell you, their defense played really well, especially against the run. You realize Tennessee rushed 19 times for 33 yards,
Oh, I know it's
with
insane.
Tony Pollard getting 9 carries for 15 yards, and the leader was Will Levis with 18 yards.
That's crazy and it took him 7 carries to get 18. I mean, that's nuts. Yeah. Pollard, who's been having a great season given his circumstance. I mean, it would be a very good season in other places, but it was a great season given the crap he's dealing with in that town. It all caught up to him this week.
And Will Levis, I mean, one touchdown, one pick, 295 yards, but 17 for 31, not a good percentage. You have banged the drum about Will Levis for a few, since the beginning of the season, really.
Yeah.
What is your take on him now?
Yeah, I mean, he still hasn't done anything to be any different spot than he was a few weeks back. You know, he had some, those stats this week, by the way, 98 yards of that was on one touchdown pass to Westbrook Akine, or however we say that name.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, he's gotta stop turning the ball over and do that for several weeks in a row to even get any consideration as their quarterback moving forward. In my
I
mind.
totally agree. And penalties played a factor as well.
Mm.
16 in this game,
Ooh.
but Minnesota only had three.
Oh wow,
So
wow,
Tennessee was penalized 13 times.
that's a massive split. Incredible, incredible.
And real quick, I want to see the yardage here. 13 penalties for 91 yards.
Woo!
That'll be very difficult to get over.
Yeah, that I mean that's that's a huge mountain to overcome. Wow.
Okay, I want to move on to the next game because this is one of the best stories of the year, in my opinion. More surprising, and it took us a little bit to come around on this. Can you guess which game I'm talking about?
Oh shoot, hold on here. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that would be Atlanta, Denver.
Holy crap!
Dude,
Denver is here. They have arrived. They have
incredible.
announced their presence with authority.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Uh
38-6 over Atlanta.
I mean, that's incredible. This was, and by the way, 2 weeks in a row, weird point spreads with the Falcons have jumped out off the page at me, and I've started listening and got it right this week because of that.
Is Bo Nix overcoming Jaden Daniels?
He has already.
You think so?
He has absolutely. In fact, let me pull up the stats because I was looking at this, and he
Well, I just
clearly.
want to give his game stats
Oh,
here.
please, please.
28 for 33. First of all, right off the bat, 5 incompletions. Great
Absolutely,
percentage.
absolutely great.
307 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Isn't that a thing of beauty, man? I mean, boy, we were so wrong about this guy. I am happy to admit it. We were calling him Bo Picks for the first couple weeks of the
Yeah, but
season, and
now
we
it's no
deserved it.
picks. Now it's
Yeah,
no picks, Bo Nix.
no picks, Bo Nix. Oh, that's awesome. That's like never nervous Purvis.
Purvis Ellison.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's such a. Oh man, no picks, Bo Nix. That's so much. That's awesome. Because I was a little bummed we lost that great nickname, but now that's even better. Oh, and credit to him, credit to Sean Payton, credit to this whole organization because I did not see this coming. I thought they, made if Bo Nix was going to be a decent quarterback, I thought maybe next year. So the fact that they are in this mix in the playoff hunt this year is astounding.
Is John Elway still their president or GM or whatever he is?
I thought he stepped down, but I could be wrong. Let me make sure about that real quick.
Okay, but because they're just a well-run organization in general. They they have their down years, obviously, and they'll miss every now and then on some players or a quarterback here and there. But more often than not, Denver is respectable, and they have turned a season that I was still questionable on how good they would be with the rookie quarterback. I thought they were going to struggle this year, and they have turned into now they are 6-5, firmly in the playoff hunt. Firmly, I think right now I'd put them in the upper muck. They're
I
they're
agree.
so impressive in Atlanta. I don't know what this was. They're also difficult to figure out because sometimes they look great, but they did not look great this week. There's nothing to talk about in terms of their statistics. Nothing.
No, no, they were terrible. The only thing of note in their stats at all to me was that Michael Penix got to throw his first real game 4 passes, but
Yeah.
that's because obviously they yanked Cousins at the end because of the blowout. By the way, Elway is no longer contractually affiliated with the Denver Broncos, is how Wikipedia puts it. He left in April of 2023, but where they are now is in large regard due to him for sure.
Yeah, yeah. They're just well run. They're the anti Jets. The Jets are not well run.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, this is just blows my mind, this Denver team. So yeah, and I don't know what to make of Atlanta now. I mean, this
Yeah.
is they are losing to teams that you would expect them to win just on the surface, like, and not just this one. This because I Denver at home. This isn't, other than the way they lost, it didn't surprise me that they lost.
Right.
But
Well we both picked Denver. We got this one right.
absolutely, but they are struggling lately. They are a lot. It's so funny because we are now 12 weeks in. And the NFC South looks almost exactly like it did last year as far as who the heck is a real team. Everybody but one team is under 500. Like it's back to a total slop division.
Well, did you hear about this Darnell Mooney?
The hammy.
He's got another guy with a hamstring.
Now I did see on ESPN earlier though that it's not considered serious. So hopefully it's not one of those 4 week hammies, man. It sounds like they, who knows? But usually you don't hear that if it's going to be the 4 week variety. So
Right,
we'll
right, right.
we'll see where it comes out. But that could be really bad for them because he's been huge for them.
Alrighty, let's move on to the. I want to see the standings of the NFC West
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes. Oh, and hey,
because
one thing, real quick, Craig, before we hit that.
yep.
Here's your stats on Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, 62% completion percentage, 2,016 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 82.3 quarterback rating. Bo Nix, 65.5% completion percentage, 2,275 yards, 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 89.3 rating. That's Bo Nix to me.
That's Bo Nix, but I was wondering about Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. Oh, here I'll pull that up real quick because that's a good one too. I think Jaden still has him, but let's see. Remember when his completion, Jaden Daniels' completion percentage was 81% 4 or 5 games into the season?
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it is now down to 68.7, which is still great,
Yeah, it's
but
still very, very good.
not at that insane level. 2,338 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks, 99.6 rating.
Okay, so
Plus,
he still got him.
and he has more rushing yards, which I would have to pull up another page to get to.
Yeah, no
But
worries, no worries.
yeah, he outrushes both of them. Nick's has more rushing yards than Daniels going into this week. I'm not sure if Daniel's 70-yard game caught him or not.
All right.
Cool. So go to your standings. I'm sorry, I just wanted to get that out there while we were
Oh,
talking
I
about it.
didn't. You know what? Well, I'm an idiot. I wanted to call it up. I never did. Hang on.
Oh, all good. No worries. And we got the Knicks, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels discussion in anyway. Nice.
Because the reason why I say that is because San Francisco is now 5-5, and I cannot believe this. Every week we keep trying to figure out when they're gonna, take off, and maybe they're just not going to.
Yeah, I can't believe it. This is one of the more surprising things in the league this year. I can't figure it out. I don't. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I,
they're
I don't know what
tied
make.
with the Rams and the Seahawks behind the Cardinals. They're all 5-5, and the Cardinals are 6-4.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. I can't believe that they're not winning this division handily.
Brock Purdy was pathetic. 21 for 28 is fine, but 159 yards, one
Right.
touchdown and one pick. That's it.
Absolutely, man. And he had just come off his best game of the season. So you figure this dude out, man. Like I can't figure him out. I can't figure the team out. McCaffrey's back. It hasn't made. I mean, he's been very solid. He's been good. You love having him back. It's not a bad thing in any way. It's a great thing, but it hasn't made much of a difference. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's what I
At
mean.
all.
That's what's surprising about this one is the fact that they were home and McCaffrey was back, and I thought, okay, it would make sense for them to take off now because last week they won, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
And
you think,
Yeah,
okay, they're going to start building some momentum now with
that's right.
McCaffrey back,
That's right.
and they lay this turd.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Um, I don't know what the hell is wrong with Debo Samuel. By the way, I don't know if it's 'cause he's had a few injuries this year. He's always dinged up. He's his whole career because he plays so hard and tough. He plays like a
Is it
running
is
back.
it Ayuk? Is that what's the problem with the offense? Ayuk?
It's a fair question, but it just doesn't make sense to me because you know who Ayuk's replacement is? That's Jawan Jennings. He had 10 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown, and he's been stellar when he's healthy. So maybe just but do they really need three great receivers on their team, like to be efficient? Like we've talked about this a lot I have a lot with the Niners since the beginning of this podcast. They are arguably the worst good team in the NFL at dealing with injuries,
Yeah. Yep.
and here it is again. You know what I mean? They lose Ayuk, but they still have Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Super Bowl MVP Jawan Jennings, or well, he could have been if they won, and
Christian
uh,
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, first round draft pick Ricky Pearsall,
Where
um,
the hell's George Kittle? He didn't have
Kittle.
to.
I think he was hurt this week. He was questionable all week. I don't think he played.
No, he did. Well, he didn't get it registered on the box score. I'll tell you that. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was out with an injury, Craig.
So there you
Uh,
go, dealing with injuries again.
Boom. And they can't do it. Like we've seen, I don't want to hear anybody complain about injuries ever again after what the Eagles have done this season. They were missing four starters in their secondary for a couple games, and they are now 8-2. So I don't, they get zero sympathy from me. They in the past they have missed like one guy, and it's like they lose 3 games in a row. It's the weirdest thing. So I don't know what happens there with injuries with them. That's part of it. but I can't figure them out, man. They on the surface they should be way better than they are, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's very strange to me.
It's mystifying. I'm with you, man. I don't, other than the injury thing, I have zero idea.
I'm trying to see right now. I'm trying to call up the injury report, but it's not loading
Oh, I got you. I got you. Let me.
for
It'll
for the
take.
game in terms of Kittle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, okay. No, I don't. I don't have that up. Let's see what I can find
I
while you're
loaded
looking.
the page, but it's just it loads half. Oh, there we go. I got it. It finally popped up. Okay. Um. Oh, also, Nick Bosa left the game
Yeah, that's huge.
with a
Yeah,
hip injury.
and he is there. Like it sounds week to weekish so far.
Yep. It doesn't even mention Kittle at all.
Yeah, he must have been out.
I'm assuming he was out.
Yeah, he must have been. Which again, and listen, I love Kittle. He's one of my favorite tight ends ever. But you're dealing with him on the injury report a lot and missing a couple games a year. It just is what it is. He plays tough.
Yep. Yes, he does. See here. All right. Let's move on to the next one, which is Buffalo over Kansas City,
ah,
30-21. Kansas City takes their first L of the year. Um, the writing was on the wall leading up to this game. Buffalo was a favorite. I can't remember the last time Kansas City wasn't a favorite,
yeah, really,
and they deserve to be the favorite.
no doubt.
Like the way Kansas City's played all year has been less than inspiring, to say the least. And they were right for the picking. They were right there for them to take, and they took it.
No doubt. This was a fun game to watch, man. It was really fun. Amari Cooper being back. I think my new rule with the Bills is as long as Amari Cooper is in, they can still miss one other receiver. uh, but if Cooper's out, then you got to watch it. But he walks right back on the field, makes just an incredible catch on a big looping, almost like a Russell Wilson ball from Josh Allen, and he ended up with like two catches for 58 yards or something. I forget the exact line, but two for 55 yards. But his presence was felt immediately, and yeah, and Josh Allen, he threw a pick, but other than that, man, he played incredible.
Josh Allen is a man.
He
That
really is.
dude, that dude, that last run at the
Yeah.
end there, he
Yes.
was not going down. That's all there
Yes.
is to it. He he just stepped on their throat right there. We are not losing this game. I am not going down. Touchdown. Ran over people, eluded people. Just unbelievable. He's a freaking train coming down that the pike there. When you can't be a cornerback and try to line up and tackle him.
No, man. I mean, he's on a very small list of the most imposing quarterbacks to ever see running at you. I mean, I would imagine him, maybe Dante Culpepper in his very brief prime, um, when he weighed 270 pounds.
Yep.
But yeah, no, he is a man's man on that field, man, and he can do everything. He really can. He can do everything.
Yeah, nothing crazy on the stat sheet on either side. Shakir had 70 yards on 8 catches. Um, James Cook had 2 touchdowns, but he only ran for 20 yards. Didn't do much.
I know that's wild. And he only got two touches the whole second half.
And Patrick Mahomes keeps throwing picks. He only had 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, great, but 2 more picks.
Yeah, man. Yep. Nah, that's real. That is real. I'm stunned that I really thought the DeAndre Hopkins emergence a couple weeks ago was going to continue, and it hasn't. I mean,
It has not.
he's been okay, and there was a deep ball there that was a 50-50 ball that if he comes down with, all of a sudden this stat line looks a lot better. But it hasn't been what I thought it was going to be for sure. The If you want a positive for Kansas City, it was the best game Xavier Worthy's had all year.
Yes.
And he's still not touchdown wise. He's had a couple games where he scored touchdowns, but he if he had kept his feet in bounds, this would have been a really big game on that one catch. Where he, if like a better, smarter receiver would have had his feet in on that catch easily.
Yep. Well, I don't know. What do you? Where are you at with Kansas City?
Kansas City, man, they are still going to be they're still one of the best two or three teams in the league. I don't know who I'd pick. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Bills over them if they play at home, because they just did it. The Steelers, the Ravens, I would have to think about, but I don't know, because they have their own issues like the Chiefs. Um,
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh and Buffalo are probably the only two in the AFC. The Chargers are kind of getting there, but not really. Denver kind of the same way, but they're not ready yet. Um, yeah, I think that's got to be what it is, right?
I think so, man. Yeah, I would. I think I'd put them third on my list of AFC teams right now.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm ready to move on if you are.
Let's do it.
Chargers 34, Cincinnati 27.
Oh, what a game! What a
What
game!
a game. And I got to say, um, Kansas City is still playing well offensively. They're still putting up massive numbers, but the Chargers are another team we've got to look at and realize they're 7-3.
Yeah,
This is
the
a
Chargers are real,
solid,
man.
this is a very good team.
Chargers are real. They are for real. The only issue I have with the Chargers in this entire game is their incredible defense just fell apart in the second half. Now, it's still one of the best offenses in football, so there's not a whole lot of shame there. But I will say the Eagles managed to hold them to 17 points a couple weeks ago. So the Chargers defense, which I thought might be one of the best in football, I have to put a couple notches down because of that second half. But this was, where did I write it? This was they were destroying them at halftime. Oh, 24-6 at the
Yep,
halftime.
yep,
24-6. So credit to the Bengals for being able to mount a comeback against that very good Charger D. And it turned into one hell of a game by the end. In fact, McPherson, their field goal kicker, Bengals field goal kicker, missed a 48-yard field goal to put them up 30-27. That would have put them up 30-27 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So they got all the way back in this sucker.
yep. 356 yards for Joe Burrow, 3 touchdowns, no picks. This guy just puts up massive numbers now every week. I mean, any concern you had for him early in the year is gone. He is right there. He is
Incredible.
back to being Joe Cool.
Yes,
And T. Higgins, 148 yards and a touchdown, 9 catches. Jamar Chase, 7 for 75 and 2 touchdowns.
man.
Chase Brown is clearly the guy now, 86 yards. All of that is good news. All of it amounts to a Bengals win, right?
Yeah.
No,
Except,
no, it doesn't, because Justin Herbert, 297 and 2. They ran for 155 yards as a team, got 2 touchdowns. Vlad McConkey, 123 yards. My goodness.
yep. Will Disley, who, by the way, is now a borderline top 10 fantasy tight end. I've been a fan of this guy since he was drafted by the Seahawks, something like 7 or 8 years ago. I thought he was really good, and he was on anybody's radar. And I really liked what I saw his rookie season with Seattle, and then he blew up his knee like 3 times in the next couple of years. Like, it just kept happening. I'm probably overstating it a little bit, but he missed years with injuries. And Harbaugh decided he likes him, and he is living up to it. 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown from a guy who probably didn't put together that many stats in the previous 4 seasons. Gotta love it.
I love it. I do love it. So good. The Bengals are, I mean, at the very least, they're entertaining to watch. At the very least.
Oh, they're awesome to watch. They're so much fun, and they are screwed. They're 3-7 now. I mean, they
Yeah.
they have to win every game just to make the discussion of squeaking in the last week of the playoffs, and that's not happening. So
Right.
they're done. But they are the most fun team to watch by far of any team that is not going to make the playoffs.
I would say that. By the way, we were right all the way up to the Atlanta and Denver game. We got every game right. But
Ah,
but Seattle and San Francisco, we both picked San Francisco. We were wrong.
yep.
Kansas City, Buffalo, we both picked Kansas City. We were wrong. And
One of us really should have picked
Chargers
Buffalo
and
in that game.
yep, Chargers in Cincinnati. I actually dumbass picked Cincinnati, and you picked the Chargers. So you got that one right. I got that one. This one wrong. And then, so for my fourth wrong in a row, we're going to move on to the Jets and Colts. Although you also got this one wrong. We both picked the Jets for the last time. We say it every week. It's got to be the last time. And this has got to be the last time.
I can't imagine. Do they play the Panthers? Because that's about the only way I can imagine picking them, and that would have to be at home.
What
and
a disaster.
and let's not bury the lead too. Joe Douglas, who I just brought up a week or two ago, as far as why he was still there, gone officially today.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, he got fired not long before we went on air.
Nice.
Yep, and that's
Good idea. Good idea.
they need to blow up this whole regime, which they have now done.
Did they
Everybody
get
will
a,
be.
did they get a new GM bump?
Yeah, that I'm not sure if it's a real thing. Let's find out this week. That's awesome.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
Aaron Rodgers just, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Just nothing special at all. Brees Hall, 78 yards and a touchdown. It's weird. They bring in Adams because his familiarity with Rodgers, yet they don't look like they're on the same page at all.
Isn't that weird?
It
I
is
don't get
weird.
it.
I don't
I
get
don't
it.
get it.
They look like they're not in syncopado at all.
Yeah, it's very odd. And Garrett Wilson was almost a forgotten man. 4 catches for 18 yards. Brees Hall was outstanding. I mean, he had his 78 yards, but he also caught 7 passes for 43 yards and a touchdown. So he's the
Yep.
one guy that's toiling away here. But yeah, this whole thing is done. The
Their
entire regime.
defense is horrible. Their defense
Oh,
made Anthony Richardson look good. 20 for 30, 272 yards, a touchdown, no pick, and no picks. And then he ran for 32 more yards and 2 more touchdowns. Anthony Richardson did the Jets dirty here, and they allowed it to happen. Josh Downs, 84 yards and a touchdown, but it was all Richardson. This was the Anthony Richardson's reemergence, possibly, or at
yeah.
the very least, a very solid game from the build off of.
This was huge. They couldn't have asked for any more in his first game back. There was a lot of talk about unprofessional behavior, not showing up for meetings or showing up late. There was a lot of whispers and hush hushed sort of, maybe this guy's not acting like a professional. Well, he mea culpa, and he talked about it in the media. He owned up to it. He came back, and boy, if him showing up to a couple meetings on time does this, watch out, league, because he might be a real deal. Now, it is way too early to get super excited because this is the Jets and they are on the way down. But you couldn't ask for much more. So for people that are hoping for Anthony Richardson to be good, especially the Colts organization, this was huge.
Yeah, they looked real. He looked great for the first time in a very long time. So
Yeah.
it was cool to see. Jets are done. Their season's over.
Yep.
On to another team that season's over. That's the Dallas Cowboys.
Ah.
34-10, they got destroyed as expected. The only thing I liked about this game was the fact that Cooper Rush decided to actually throw the ball downfield this time.
Yeah, yeah, and he threw the ball like 55 times.
Yeah,
Um,
354 yards, so a touchdown and a pick. That's fine. You know the pick's coming. But he looked more like the guy that went 4-1 when Dak missed the first 5 games a couple years ago.
yeah, no, it was big. That was big. That was nice to see. That means you can play CD Lamb again and all this stuff. Although, boy, I don't know if I'd want to be CD Lamb's teammate when things aren't going well because he was acting like a bitch last night.
Yes, he was.
He
Well,
was
he does
mean.
every week. He's really frustrated now. So he's you got to reel him in. But I mean, 8 catches, 93 yards. He also
I
ran
mean,
for 13. Um,
incredible player. So you do, it is what it is. But boy, I never saw that side. I never noticed that side of him that much before. That was interesting.
I definitely have. But also Zach Martin gets hurt, and Jake
Whew.
Ferguson also hurt. So the
Tyler
injuries
Smith
are
got hurt at
just
one point too. Did he come
absolutely.
back?
What's that?
Tyler Smith went out at one point too. Did he come back?
That I'm not sure. And I only saw Zach Martin and Jake Ferguson, so he must have. But I can check on that.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
But real quick, Rico Dowdle, 28 yards. They can't stop the run and they can't run the ball. They gave up 141 yards. Joe Mixon, 3 touchdowns on the ground. C.J. Stroud looked good, 257 yards. Nothing crazy in the receiving end of things. Good to see Nico Collins back in and getting in the mix. But I mean, this is just And oh, by the way, 18 friggin' penalties,
Oh, this was a tough one.
and Dallas is now 0-5 at home, and just lose every game. I mean, this. I mean, we talk about injuries all the time, and you mentioned about you can't feel sorry, and I don't expect anybody to feel sorry, but the Cowboys, I think, have been absolutely decimated by injury more than any other team,
Oh, it is pretty epic. It is pretty epic. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I
especially
mean,
if Ferguson and and Martin are both out too.
no doubt, no doubt. I mean, they were pretty sucky before a lot of these injuries hit. So it's not the only reason, but it is definitely legit. I mean, you lose a Hall of Fame guard and your best tight end, and you're already playing without your best or your second best corner and your quarterback, and on and on and
Oh,
on.
we also our other corner, our third corner was out too. Jordan Lewis didn't
Oh,
play.
geez, that's right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that so we had literally we had of course Diggs, and then that awful guy that I can't always forget his name, the one who's just terrible on the other side.
Oh, yeah, the one that got torched the week before. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third cornerback was a guy named Butler who they got last Monday.
Wow.
They just picked him up last Monday, and he was the third corner, was in the game pretty much all game long. That's how bad it is. They're picking up people off the street for to start their game, to start in their game, basically, essentially.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Jerry's still like, yeah, well, we're still trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, he's such an idiot.
Meanwhile, the roof is falling apart in his multi-billion-dollar stadium. You see that?
Yep.
I mean, they were lucky nobody was on the field when that happened, or there's a whole different story today. By the way, one thing I want to point out about this game, they were in this game.
Yeah.
It was 17-10. Aubrey makes a. I'm sorry, it was 20-10. Aubrey makes a 64-yard field goal, but there's a penalty. Now, I don't blame McCarthy for. I think every coach in the league would take the 3 points off the field and take the 15 yards and keep driving. I
Yeah.
I,
Of
I don't
course.
I don't blame him for that. But they go down. They end up going for it on fourth down and missing when
Yep.
they were down two scores and they needed a field goal to get down back to. It was just a very odd sequence. Another example of McCarthy being McCarthy, and yeah, just a bad move, and that was the end of the game, right
I
there.
think Brandon Aubrey is better the farther away he is.
Yeah, because he missed that. He missed like a 42-yard or something earlier, or 40
Yeah,
something.
and then he hits a 67-yarder or 64-yarder, whatever it was.
That was the first field goal he ever missed in Dallas. Do you
Yeah.
see that stat?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he is probably the best kicker in the league, I would say.
I don't know who I take over him right now. I mean, Tucker is clearly winding down at the
Yep.
tail end
Yeah.
of his
And
awesome career. You
there's
can't
some
take him
good.
right now.
There's obviously some good ones, but that's the one thing I could say about Cowboys. Their kicker is very, very good.
He's incredible. You're the only team in the league that could win a game on a last second 70-yard field goal.
Do you think that I want them to try that? I would love them to try a 70-yard field goal with him just to
That
see if he can actually get it done. That would be amazing.
I hope they do, man. And listen, that 64-yarder was good by at least 5 yards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't
He's
close.
kicked a 67-yarder at some point either this year or last year. I think that's as farthest as 67.
Yeah, he's got it in him. So I hope at the end of a half or something, or at the end of a game, it comes up. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, that would be really cool because I think he would have a legit shot
He's something
to
else,
do
man.
it.
I mean, he's
But
something else.
other than that, there's nothing about this game. Like I said, I was just nice to see Cooper Rush look like he did when he went 4-1 a few years ago.
Yeah, that was big because they didn't let him throw the ball past the line of scrimmage hardly in his other start. So this was huge. It
Yes,
was they can at least be offensively somewhat competent with him back there.
right. But their defense is so compromised it doesn't really matter.
No doubt. No doubt.
Okay, well that is it. That's the last game on the docket.
Boom.
Um, by the way, our both of our upset picks did not happen. You had Baltimore and I had Atlanta. They both lost, so that's that.
Oh, and by the way, Baltimore, I was wrong. Baltimore wasn't an underdog, so that should not. That was, and I texted you before the game. Doesn't matter because I got it wrong, even more wrong
Oh,
when
that's
I said
right, right.
I
You
I switched it to Cleveland of all things and made it even worse pick.
Right, right. That's right. My bad. Yes, you did.
No, no,
I
no.
can
That's my bad.
legitimize for
I
sure.
was the one that. Yeah. No. All good. All good.
He definitely texted me early in the week before the game started, and like you said, you got it wrong anyway, so you wouldn't have done that. If
Yeah. Totally, man. I mean, just it was just admitting that I went from bad to worse.
So Baltimore was not a underdog. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I misread that. Yeah, I forgot. I just read -3 and assumed the home team was the favorite. I think.
Yep. 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 Well, that's the thing. The perception of everybody about the league, even Vegas, is that Baltimore would be a favorite against Pittsburgh, even in Pittsburgh, and that shows you what everybody thinks of both teams.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm right there with you on that. Right there with you.
But I think
Those
this week it's got to be flip flopped now.
you would think. You would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. Next, well, see, the problem is next time they play will be in Baltimore, so probably would be Baltimore would still probably be favorite.
But if they're only favored by 3, then we know that it did flip a little bit.
You're right because it's even. That would
Right.
be even. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Well, I'm ready to get going on week 12. If you are as well, our preview show.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Absolutely.
all right. Make sure you guys join us for the preview. Week 12. We'll go through every game, everything that's coming up, all our thoughts on each and every game, our predictions, see how we fall. And yeah. And we're also going to go over the schedules, right, Al?
Yes, sir. I have everybody in playoff contention currently. I have all their schedules pulled up. Whatever we want to talk about, I'll be ready.
That sounds great. Okay. Make sure you guys join us for that. And until then, once again, I want to thank Al. I will see you later.